So you're thinking about moving to Lubbock, Texas, and you don't want to live in the city of Lubbock because you want some land, maybe you want to breathe. You don't want to be next door to your neighbor. I get a lot of the time that people move here because they want to be on land or they want to shop, they want a pool, they want an acre, and a lot of the times that is achievable, but it's going to be around the outskirts of Lubbock. So today in this video, I wanted to discuss 5 of the surrounding cities of Lubbock that are the most popular cities that everybody wants to take a look at when they are shopping for acreage or if they're looking for a home outside of the city limits with a lower tax rate. So you can't really beat that. So we're going to go over really everything you need to know about each city. That way you can make an informed decision on which city you might want to check out if you are thinking about making your move to Lubbock, Texas. And we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Lubbock, Texas, well, then be sure to tap that bell and hit that subscribe button so that you can be the first to know about all things living in Lubbock, Texas. I get calls, texts, emails, Zoom calls every single day from people just like you looking to make their move to Lubbock, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or schedule a Zoom call with the link below in the description. And I'd love to meet you and your family and help you make a smooth transition into the Lubbock area. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the top 5 surrounding cities around Lubbock. So that way, if you are thinking about maybe moving here, you have a good idea about each city. So let's dive in. So first up, let's talk about Idalou. Now, I've done an entire video about Idalou before, and if you haven't checked it out, be sure to check it out. But I wanted to mention it again because Idalou is such a unique town. People love Idalou. People have been going to Idalou for the past 5 years because of all of the new construction that is happening in Idalou. And Idalou is about 7 miles northeast of Lubbock. There's not a ton of commercial growth that way, but there's a ton of residential growth that way. And the reason why people are liking it is because you are on some land. I mean, plain and simple, they are building some gorgeous homes on 1 to 10 acre lots. At the time of this video, there are about 12 to 15 listings, all on half an acre to 10 acres, depending on, where you want to be in Idalou. There are some homes that are also being built on 10 acres that are around 400,000, but it just depends on really what you're looking for. That's going to be very cookie cutter, very basic, but if you wanted to build your own home, of course you can do that too. There are tons of lots that we can also get you into, or we can help you with an existing home. There are existing homes in Idalou. Now, Idalou's population is going to be the biggest out of all of the cities I'm going to mention today, and it's a whopping almost 2,100 people, 2,200 people, which is a big deal in Lubbock. That's a lot of people in Idalou, because when we get to some of the other smaller suburbs, maybe a quarter of that. But anyway, around 2,200 people. A lot of people are liking Idalou as well because of the schools. I've talked about the schools, and people are really liking the more teacher to student ratio. I mean, you have smaller schools, which means the teachers can help the students more one-on-one. So a lot of people are liking that. And then also too, the sports. If you want your kiddo to play sports, football, basketball, track, whatever, they do have a great sports team as well. To the heart of Lubbock, you're not very far. Just depends on where you want to get to. If you're trying to go south Lubbock, it's going to be quite a hike. It's probably going to take you around 20 to 25 minutes, depending on where you're trying to go. But if you're trying to go north Lubbock, it'll only take you about 15 minutes, maybe 10. It's not very far from Lubbock at all.
Now, I wanted to talk about one thing that I do love about Idalou, and maybe something that I don't love about Idalou. Now, I do love the fact that even though you're going to be on your own 10-acre plot of land in Idalou, it's gonna feel like you're in a community. There's gonna be a lot of neighbors around you. It's definitely more of a community feel. Yes, you will be out, you'll have your space. It's not like you're gonna be elbow to elbow with your neighbor, but you're gonna see a house. You're gonna see a house down the road. You're gonna be able to walk to your neighbor's house if you want to, or you can ask them for some eggs or some milk. It's gonna be in a good community, which I think a lot of people like about Idalou, and that's what I love about Idalou as well. Something that I do not love about Idalou is the fact that it's far away from South Lubbock. And if you've been following along and you're thinking about moving to Lubbock, everything is south. So it does take a little bit longer to get to South Lubbock if you were living in some of the other smart, surrounding towns. So it just really depends on what you're wanting. If you don't care too much to be around the hustle and bustle or around all the new construction, or not new construction, but the new developments as far as commercial growth and restaurants, or if you have kiddos that play a lot of sports, that need to go into the city for a lot of stuff, then it might not matter to you. Okay, so next, let's go to the next suburb. Next, we're going to go northwest Lubbock, about 12 miles, and we're gonna go to Shallowater. So Shallowater is conveniently located off of US 84, so it makes getting to Shallowater super easy, and from Shallowater to Lubbock, super easy. So convenience factor, it is there. Shallowater is right northwest of Lubbock. Great access to that part of town. In 2022 census, there was around 3,000 residents in Shallowater, and since then it has been growing. Shallowater is a really popular town if you want to be northwest Lubbock. The high school is also really great. Again, going back to this small population of a good teacher to student ratio, there's around 500 kids in the Shallowater High School. And that's not 500 kids per grade. That's 500 kids for the whole high school. So I went to a high school where there was 500 kids in my graduating class. So this is, definitely a smaller school. It is not private by any means, but Shallowater ISD is a really, really great school district that people want to send their kids to. Like I mentioned, there's around 3,000 people that live there. And right now, Shallowater is gaining popularity because a lot of the homes you can also find on 1 to 10 acre lots. Currently on the market, there are around 35 homes on the market, ranging from the low 200s, mid 200s, to over $1 million. So it really just depends on where you want to be. There are some gorgeous, gorgeous neighborhoods in Shallowater that are between 600 to $1 million. If you're wanting to have some land and just be on maybe a newer home, if you're looking for a grand home, a bigger home, then there's some really great options in Shallowater for you that aren't too far north of Lubbock. Super convenient to Lubbock.
I will say, as far as the tax rate for Shallowater, it's actually a little bit higher than the city of Lubbock. So the city of Lubbock's around the 2.2-ish percent, and Shallowater is around 2.3. So it's a little bit higher tax-wise, but also too, if you're wanting to be out in the country or have some land, or just be a little bit further out north Lubbock. If you're coming in from Oklahoma area, it's a lot quicker of a drive going through Shallowater, or from Colorado going through Shallowater. Well, then this might be a better option for you, but I did want to notate that the taxes are a little bit higher than the city of Lubbock. Now, one thing that I do love about Shallowater is the fact that it is growing, and it is one of the biggest suburbs around Lubbock. So you're not going to feel like you're in a small town. You're still going to have lots of things going on in Shallowater. You're going to have some neighborhoods. You're going to have lots of neighborhoods in and around Shallowater, but also too, you can be on land. So it's not like you're going to be out in the boonies where it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes to get to your gas station or convenience store. There is going to be easy access to convenience stores or gas stations, grocery stores, because of how close it is, or because it's right off of US 84. So that is what I do love about Shallowater. Again, what I don't love about Shallowater is that it's just far from South Lubbock. I like South Lubbock, as you can tell. And so that's where things are growing, especially when you have kiddos and you need to go into town. I love HEB. So I just don't like to be that far away from that. But again, if you don't care about that, then it's a great city for you to look into. So now let's keep going northwest. Now we are heading west, and we are about 20 to 25 minutes outside of Lubbock in the town of Rolesville. So Rolesville is just west of Wolfforth, not very far from Wolfforth at all, and right off of US 6282. So it's, again, super convenient and close to Lubbock. 20 to 25 minutes, depending on where you are in Rolesville. If you have the Rolesville address, you could be right on the cusp of Wolfforth and Rolesville, or you could be a little bit further into the city. So it just depends on how close you are to Lubbock, which will determine how quickly you can get to gas stations and in the grocery store and all the fun stuff. But again, since it is super close on the highway, it does not take you long to get into Lubbock, 20, 25 minutes. But with that being said, you will be close to Wolfforth. So it is really not that far. And Wolfforth, like I mentioned in my previous videos, this is blending in and merging into Lubbock. So tons of population growth there. At the time of the last census, there was only around 500 people in the town of Rolesville. So it's not a very big town. You know, if you're wanting a small town with not a lot of people, Rolesville is definitely one as of right now. Now, I will say, since Lubbock is growing south and southwest, and it's just west of Wolfforth, I do project Rolesville is going to take off in the next 5 to 10 years. So there is a ton of new growth happening in the Rolesville area just because of the direction that Lubbock is growing. So I do think that it's going to take off. So it just depends on you. Do you want to be in a city to where you're already going to be there when the growth is going to be happening? Or do you want to be in a city where the development's already happening and you know for sure that it's going to be more so your country living that you are looking for? Rolesville, a lot of people love Rolesville again because of the school district. Like I said, many people love the small towns around Lubbock because of the school districts. Really, depending on where you want to live, you're going to have good school districts in all of the smaller towns in Lubbock. That's where a lot of this people, even in Lubbock, are trying to transfer into. Rolesville cut off transfer, so you have to have a Rolesville address in order to go to the Rolesville ISD school. Now, the good thing also that I love about Rolesville is that it has a lower tax rate. You're looking at about 1.8%. So if you don't want to pay the higher tax rate, let's look at Rolesville. Lower tax rate. As of right now, there are around 8 listings on the market, around 300,000 to 800,000, built from 1970 to brand new construction. There's a brand new neighborhood in Rolesville called Quail Creek, and it is awesome. The reason I love it so much is because it has paved roads, it has LED lamp posts surrounding or along the paved roads. And you can find lots between 4 to 5 acres. This is around 6 acres, you know, so they're not huge. They're not 10 acres, and they're not 20 acres, you know, and they're not 1 acre. So you have like the perfect amount, in my opinion, of acreage to build your dream home on. If you do want your home to be on a body of water, there is a man-made creek that is flowing through some of the lots in that neighborhood. They're a little bit more pricey, but you can find lots out there from around 80,000 to 115,000 for 5 acres. So that's pretty great here in Lubbock if you are looking to buy some land out here. So one thing that I do love about Rolesville is the convenience factor of how close it is to Lubbock, but also too, there's not a lot going on as of right now. You are still going to be out in the country. You still feel a little secluded. You're not elbow to elbow with your neighbor, but also too, you can get to Lubbock fairly easy. You're closest to Target, you're closest to Costco, you're closest to Sam's. So that is just, for me, that's the convenience factor. That's why I love Rolesville. What I don't love about Rolesville is, again, that it's small. You know, it's super, super small. So if you're not wanting a super, super small town, well, then let's look at one of the other suburbs, you know, around 500 people as of right now. So, I mean, that's a small town. But also too, if you're moving from New Mexico, it is such a convenient location for you to move to because of how close it is to New Mexico, how close it is. It is closer than Lubbock is to New Mexico, about 30 minutes. So if you don't want to drive or tack on that extra mileage coming into Lubbock, well, then Rolesville would be a really great area for you to look into. Now we're heading south. Now directly south of Lubbock is New Home. Again, I've done another video all about New Home, but I did want to mention it because a lot of people love New Home. It has taken off over the last few years. I mean, everybody's going to New Home. And the reason is because it is going the direction of the new growth in Lubbock. So it's super quick and convenient to Lubbock. It's around 20 to 25 minutes, again, depending on where you are in Lubbock. That's to the center. If you are trying to go into South Lubbock where the main grocery stores are or a convenience store, you can get there in maybe 15. I mean, it's not far. And so again, the people love going there because the population's small, 500 people around, and the schools. Imagine that. People love the schools in New Home. So it's another location, another suburb that people are loving. And also too, you can find new construction homes on 1 to 10 acres. Of course, if you want like a farm, there's more than that, but around 1 to 10 acres, you can find new home or you can find a new construction home around 290 to 300,000. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. If you want land, New Home is definitely one of the places I would recommend looking into if you're wanting a town that is booming and blowing up right now. A lot of the subdivisions within New Home, there's no more lots available. It's very slim pickings. So sometimes there will be 1 or 2 here and there, depending on if it's privately sold or what have you. But It's a great place to look into if you're wanting to be close enough to Lubbock, but also feel like you're a little bit in the country. One thing I want to point out is right now there are 14 homes on the market in new home. And of those 14, you're looking at around upper 200s to over $1 million. And that's going to be the average range. New homes prices are going up. I mean, that's what they're, projected to do, is just to continue increasing, especially lot prices are continuing to increase. So if you are wanting to invest in that neighborhood, most likely you will be able to see a return on your investment in the next 5 to 10 years if that's when you decide to sell. What I love about new home is that it is growing. It's small, around 500 people, but it's continuing to grow. And so you're going to have your neighbor, you're going to have people that you can go to. There's a lot of good new subdivisions all throughout new home, not very far from each other, that if you need some eggs, chances are your neighbor probably has some chickens and is willing to give you some homegrown fresh eggs. So, you do have that community feel in new home, and it's super convenient to Lubbock. Now, what I don't love about new home is how quickly it's growing. I don't necessarily, if you want to live in a town where it's growing super quickly, then that new home might be for you, but that's one thing that I don't love about it, is it's just growing and booming, and chances are that you are going to feel like you're more of in a city than you are living in the country. Those are my tidbits information about new home. There's one more suburb that I wanted to mention that I think I saved the best for last. Last but not least, 12 miles east of Lubbock is the city of Ransom Canyon. Now, Ransom Canyon is my personal favorite, just because of how beautiful it is, and you just do not feel like you are in Lubbock, Texas. So Ransom Canyon, like I mentioned, is 12 miles outside of Lubbock, around 20 to 25 minutes to the city of Lubbock. And the reason why it's so great, why people love it, is because it does feel like you're its own private community, which it really is. There's around 1,200 people that are living in Ransom Canyon right now. And it is where the lake is. So if you have Buffalo Springs Lake, which is in Buffalo, but down the road from Buffalo Springs Lake is Ransom Canyon. So this is the private neighborhood. This is the private lake that I have mentioned before, the Lake Ransom Canyon. And you can only go on this lake if you live on this lake. So it is very private. You don't have a bunch of people coming in and out and fishing or unloading boats and what have you, skiing, all that jazz. It is very, very peaceful, very, very quiet. There are tons of trees. There's tons of elevation changes. You're kind of in the Cap Rock. There's a valley. there's hills. It is absolutely breathtaking. I've had some videos too that I've shared with you before about Ransom Canyon, and it is so wonderful there. You hear the birds singing, very peaceful. So if you're wanting something that's a little bit outside of the city, and maybe you're used to the trees, maybe you're used to living on the lake, and you want to live again on the lake, well, that is attainable here in Lubbock, in the city of Ransom. And it's not too far from Lubbock, and it does have its own, it's its own city. It has its own fire station, chapel, grocery stores. There's a little Goodwill. You'd have to come into town really to do a lot of your major grocery store shopping, but you're going to be in town more than likely all the time anyway, because there's nothing really else to do in Ransom besides relax on your front porch and drink some coffee. Ransom Canyon is my favorite. Like I said, the population is around 1,500, and they are growing. So Ransom Canyon is developing a new subdivision in the northeast corner of the subdivision. So if you're wanting a newer construction house, around $200,000 to $300,000, that is attainable in the city. You're not super close to the water, but you feel like you are in a different city. You see the trees and you see the elevation change, and just driving into the city, you will be able to, it's a really, really pretty drive as well too. So a lot of the homes are built around the 80s to today. Carter Ranch is that new subdivision that I was speaking of, and that newer subdivision of Ransom Canyon. But 80s to today, around, like I mentioned, around 300 to over $1 million, definitely in Ransom Canyon. The Bruno Steel House, which is an Airbnb, is there. There's just lots of cool quirks out in that area. Also, the tax rate. The tax rate is a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper than Lubbock. It's around 2%. So if you are looking for a lower tax rate, then the city of Ransom Canyon is also there for you to check out. One thing I do love about Ransom is basically everything I just mentioned. I love that you feel like you're not in Lubbock, but you're also super close to Lubbock. And I just love the trees and the elevation changes. It's very peaceful out there, very beautiful. And so if you're looking for maybe an escape or a retirement home, that would be a great place to look into. What I don't love about Ransom Canyon is the school district that it's zoned to. I would prefer to have one of the smaller school districts around for my little one in the Rolesville new home, Shallowater area, Idalou. But however, is that a trade-off for Ransom Canyon? Something to think about, So those are the top 5 suburbs around Lubbock that are the most common that people ask about or want to look into if you're looking for land. You can get some land at Ransom Canyon too. Forgot to mention that. You can find some homes that are on 1 to 2 acres. And so if you're looking for some land and you just want to be outside of the city of Lubbock and lower tax rate, just easy living, well then let's check out one of these 5 cities that I mentioned today. If you have any questions or want to go in more detail about any of the cities that I mentioned today, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help answer those questions. And like I said, if you are thinking about moving to the Lubbock area, be sure to tap that bell and hit that subscribe button so that you can be the first to know about all things happening in Lubbock, Texas. And until next time, we'll see you around.